just welcome everyone to the Building Level Advisory Committee for Presumpscot. And I was still working to get the agenda open. There we go. So we have 45 minutes for the meeting, and we need to approve minutes, and then I will turn it over to Harriman for a discussion of some really important things today, the phasing scenario for Presumpscot, as well as updates to the floor plans. So if you look at the meeting, you will see that there is a set of minutes, and so I'm just opening them now. Will somebody move to approve those minutes?
I don't think any of us see them. We're still seeing the agenda. So unable to.
No, they're not on the screen. They are in board docs with the meeting notice and all of the other materials. Mark or Lisa, who's...
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Superintendent Botana. I think what we'll do, just to establish facilitation, Superintendent Botana, will you be the one that is facilitating questioning from raised hands?
I can do that.
Okay, very good. So as we move through tonight's presentation, I'll try to be brief and efficient in the discussion points, and interrupt, please, as we're going through to if you have any questions on any material. I think there's a hand raised right now. Is that right?
Aura, your hand is raised.
Hi. Superintendent and Mark, I think I know one of the members did email and note the board docs, but I don't know if that was clear to all of us. So maybe just to clarify for us to be prepared with that. I didn't kind of get that till sort of late in the game today that we should have been reviewing that. So maybe just that would be helpful to be clarified that that's where we should be getting documents.
Yeah, so for the record, that is where that's where we post meetings and all the and all the meeting materials. So that was all posted on Monday, including the minutes and the presentation for tonight. Or at least a close facsimile to the presentation for tonight. I don't know if there's been any changes subsequent, but so that and all the other materials that's all posted on board docs.
Very good. So without further ado, I'll get rolling into it. All right, we have three main areas that we want to cover tonight. The first is a phasing options discussion, and so we're really very lucky to have the folks that are so connected to the school environment itself. And so as we present this, we want your feedback and understanding how you think this will work, or some of the logistics around it that may need to be addressed. And so one of the things that Presumpscot has already that the other two schools that we're renovating doesn't have is the space in the portable classrooms and modular classrooms they have right now. And so they occupy the location predominantly of where the addition to the building is going to go. So the first thing we think of when we think of this construction project we're going to need to do is to relocate those modular classrooms, and we'll show you a site plan or an aerial photo of where we think those may best be located. Once those are moved out of the way, then that allows us to start the construction in the area that they currently occupy, and that is where the rear addition onto the building is shown as going. And so the idea that we would bid the project in time for a good weather construction start, and so the spring of 2021 next year, and the foundations would start, and the earthwork around it, and then the building addition would start to rise. This is very similar to what occurred at Lyseth. And so Lyseth had the additions start right off the gate for the gym addition that they put on in the library addition. And so that occurred and went throughout the school year and is nearing completion this fall. And so it took essentially 1 full year plus another season, if you will, to construct that. And so in addition to the rear addition to Presumpscot, there's also the addition at the front, and so that's dashed in the orange box. There's an addition which really is about half of what you're shown, and then there's a renovation, a pretty significant renovation in an area, and we'll show those in a blow up in a minute here. But so the idea is, let's move the portable, let's start in on the construction right away. And then the second summer of 2022 is when we start to address the more significant renovations on the interior. And so that is the areas that are dashed in the blue lines right here. And so there aren't significant changes, as we've discussed. There aren't significant changes to the classrooms in the building right now, but there are some that receive a more significant, and those are the ones that are identified here. And so as soon as the school is out in the summer of 2022, then the contractor will move into those areas and renovate those. And so at the end of that summer of 2022, the project is complete. And so it's a relatively short duration. It's much shorter than some of the other projects that both Lyseth and Longfellow and Reiki. And so that this diagram right here, you can see where the 3 modular units are right now. And so those are shown at the rear of the site. And then the proposal is to put those 3 located here. And so we would actually lift them, move them, and reorient them, and so that they would be along this edge of the field. The idea is that you'd still have use of the field for recreation and athletics, but they're not interfering with your hardscape area. Realize that this area will be cordoned off because that's where the contractor is going to be doing their work, and we'll have to look at where the contractor stages all their equipment as well. And so there may be additional impacts beyond simply the area of the construction, but we'll look at what those are as we get a little further detailed. So the good news with Presumpscot is it's a relatively straightforward construction sequence. So that are there any questions on the sequencing of that work? And again, that starts with building the rear, starting in the summer, and then the following 14 months or so of construction, opening before the fall of 2022. So the fall of 22, the new spaces are online in the new entrance. All right. If there are no questions, I will.
Aura's hand is up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. I'm just wondering, and this is from way back conversations, so I don't know if this is even relevant now, but are those modulars being planned to be used and moved around during these other I think maybe that was discussed when the projects weren't going to be done simultaneously, but is that part of the plan for those mods to be used throughout the schools that are getting renovated for classroom space?
No, they will be used to house the programs that are currently housed in them now, and so those current tenants of those cottages will stay with them, and then once we're done the work at Presumpscot, I guess we can evaluate whether there's any salvageable value to those for reuse.
Okay, so they weren't needed to be used throughout. I think that was a way back conversation. I just was curious if that was needed, but sounds like not at this time.
Laura Fries.
Thanks.
Thank you. We going along with the portables in like the line costs, it looked like removal of those portables was going to come out of our total budget money, and just wondering if it seems unfair that we're going to lose money because those portables, which I believe are property of the entire school district, are going to be removed from our physical school.
Yeah, I guess Laura, if I understand correctly, I think the other thing that your project benefits actually from is that you have swing space for the construction, and Reiki and Longfellow actually have to fund the furnishing of portables that they don't currently have, and then the disposal. All three projects will have to look at the disposal or reuse of the portables. So I don't know if that addresses that question or not.
And there's no additional budget besides that for any of the construction projects. So it has to come out of the project budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Angie Taylor.
Yeah, hi, Mark, how are you?
Good, Angie.
So my question is, so if you're starting in the summer of 2021, is the thought that that area would be framed and you would be working in the interior in the fall? And the reason I'm asking this is the relocation of the modulars is so close to the construction sites, especially in the September, October months, can be super hot. Windows are going to have to be probably opened. And so the noise is going to be a bit loud. So I'm just curious to hear about your thinking in terms of the timeline.
Yeah, the construction, likely that the foundations will happen in the spring, and then steel. I don't think by fall the entire envelope of the building will be closed in, so that there will be, that'll probably extend a little bit further into the fall season before we get it all buttoned up. I will say that there will be noise and some level of sort of impact to the classrooms, the ones that are directly adjacent to it more so than others. The Lyseth people actually have had more of an impact, I think, because the additions are between two of their wings, and so while I don't think it's optimal that this happens this way, I think the advantage that you folks have is that it's going to happen in a relatively quick construction cycle, that it's not an ongoing. The Longfellow and Presumpscot are actually, their schedules are looking more like their 26, 27 month construction durations, and so so we can actually, one of the things maybe we can do is reach out to Lenore and find out what they felt were the biggest impacts and maybe ways that we can learn from that experience and applying that to this project right here.
Thank you, Mark.
Very good. So an update to the floor plans. What we've done is we've gone through the list. Angela provided us a staff list, and so our effort was Lisa has really done a diligent effort of going through and making sure that we have identified the home for all of your current spaces, and also looked at how they fit into the new plan. And so while this is difficult to see, and we don't expect that everyone's able to kind of read what's on the screen right here, you do have the presentation, I believe, sent or it's posted on Board Docs. It's also on the new website, which we'll unveil here in a short while. But primarily, there aren't a significant number of changes in the classrooms currently. There is a change to this room right here, but I'll also, as we go into the blow up area of the front and the rear, we can address it more specifically. But Lisa, is there anything that you want to address or bring up?
Not necessarily. I think we've tried to create some spaces for some of the specialists that may not have had intentional space before, and put those wherever we possibly could. And so that's been sort of the exercise we've gone through. And then I think Mark will walk you through here in a minute some things we've explored in the back edition.
Right. Well, and realize also that what we're showing, that the basic module of the rooms isn't changed. And so the assignment of those spaces can change from one year to the next, and they often do. But what we're doing is we show the library where it currently is. We have a special education and ed tech next to it. And then we have 2 first grade classrooms shown in this wing, 2 second grade classrooms shown here, some renovated areas around this core area right here, an ELL classroom. And then we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th in this area right now. And so that is the layout. And again, the assignment of what rooms are what in each grade can certainly change, but they're outfitted similarly, the classrooms. There's not a lot of work to those classrooms, if you recall kind of the scope of work that's evolved to this point. But as we look at the rear of the rear addition, the new space, we have the kindergarten and pre-K wing over here. And so that space is shown with larger classrooms. There is toilets in each of the classrooms. There are 3 kindergarten classrooms shown, as well as a pre-K. Likely that this just shows one option of how we arrange cubbies, but they'll have cubbies inside of the rooms. And then we have a little area just outside on outside wall that's called the nest, just a little breakout area, cozy reading area. We have the speech office and then the lit coach over across from the kindergarten rooms on this side. We have an instruction math coach and a Title I room over off of the corridor coming down to this area. We have the art room with a kiln and storage adjacent to the music room. And the reason we put the storage and kiln rooms in there is to mitigate noise issues back and forth between the two. We have public toilets outside of what is shown as the cafeteria and warming kitchen right now. And then in addition to that, the question has come up regarding the size of this rear space, and as it was shown relative to could that become the gymnasium instead of the cafeteria. And so what we've shown is an outline of the license-sized gym. That's shown in that red dashed box right here. And that itself is about 1,400 square feet more than what is shown here. And then in addition to that, we've shown the stage shown above it, and that's another 1,700 square feet. So those 2 additions are a little over 3,000 square feet. And to do the math, multiply it by about a little over $500 a square foot to give you an approximate sense of the construction cost for this work. And so right now we haven't accounted for that larger space in the budget. But I know that there was some discussion about looking at the size of this and the idea that would you want to maintain the existing gym as your cafeteria and use this as the gym at the rear of the building. And I know that received a lot of consideration. What we'll do is as we fine-tune our cost estimate, we'll look to see if we can accommodate a slightly larger space and at least get the gymnasium here in the rear. And again, that's something that I think we'll want to know the feedback from this group before we bring it to the DABC and get their weigh in on that if that's a desired change.
I have Jennifer's hand up, Mark, when you're ready.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions about the floor plan. It's been proposed in our district to expand public pre-K, and for our community, we are only having 1 pre-K classroom. Is there any consideration about expanding that to meet the needs of our community? That's one of my questions. My other question is that Learning Works and After School is also presented in the floor plans of other schools. I'm not entirely sure whether it was Reiki or Longfellow, but I don't see it on our floor plan, and they are both active. The rec program and Learning Works are both active and have spaces in our school currently. And I guess the third question I have is one that came up from a survey, is that are we going to be renovating any of the existing classrooms? I know that there's a blue dashed line around some of those, but will the existing classrooms just stay the same? That question has come up from our community.
Yeah, I'll address the ones that I can. You're absolutely right that the Learning Works is an area that I believe right now occupies space in one of the modular units, and you're right. We will dig back into looking at how that space is accommodated. I believe it may show up on the Reiki floor plan right now. With respect to the pre-K number of pre-K rooms. I guess right now we've been tasked at trying to accommodate certainly your current programs, and so I think we haven't been tasked yet to look at the impact of expanding the pre-K into this project. The other question you had relative to the classrooms, and is there any work that's being done to the existing classrooms? Very, very little is being done to the existing classrooms. The budget couldn't support a renovation of the existing classrooms and the expansion of and the replacement of the modular units. And so there are some improvements that are going to be made. There'll be improved instructional technology in the classrooms. And so that is one area where we're looking to add the direction we've been going with Lyseth is either short throw projectors onto a whiteboard at the front of the classroom, or ceiling mounted video projectors and sound amplification systems. And so those are the two primary instructional technologies that we're incorporating.
I'd just like to clarify that it's not just Learning Works, it's Learning Works and other after school. So other after school would include rec, the community rec programs that come into our school. So it would be both organizations would need some type of, the ones that exist right now, they would need some type of space to store their supplies.
And that would probably be, yeah, and that would have to be shared space in an existing classroom. I think, as Mark pointed out, we're not adding additional classrooms. So
I understand that. It was just not mentioned.
Yeah. Angie has her hand up, and so does Angela Taylor. Both.
I'll defer to Angie. Is this because, you know what it is Mike,
Mike, right?
For me, right? Yeah, Mike, because he didn't get an invite. So Mike, you go ahead. Can you hear?
He's still muted, Mike?
Mike, you're muted.
Okay, how about now?
There you
That's
go.
good.
Okay, sorry about that. Pertaining to the modulars, where they're located, what's the path to the construction vehicles going to the new building construction? Are they going to go between the mods and the primary building, or are they going around towards the back end over by DMV? Do you have an idea where that's going to be?
Yeah, we haven't yet, and so we'll look for your sense of how the site works. You know, it's going to be a careful orchestration of moving parts here, and so as we get a little closer to figuring out exactly how laydown areas will work and how we get the contractors to and from at Lyseth, we were able to gate an area that is separated from the rest of the traffic, and the contractor has access to that, and that's locked off from the rest of from the school. So not sure, Mike, if you have thoughts on what side may work better. It looks like the right-hand side would work better, but
it would work, yeah, by the size of the construction vehicles to go through, yes, it'd probably be better. But I was just concerned about the kids walking to and from the main building.
Sure.
Because there are no bathrooms out that way, and the kids are going to be constantly moving back and forth throughout that area. I was just wondering how they were going to plan on getting construction vehicles back and forth through there with small kids coming through.
That's an excellent point. We'll have to look at that in more detail.
Okay, thank you.
Aura, I'm sorry, that was Angela, Aura,
Angie.
and then Angie.
Thank you, Javier. So my question, first I want to say,
Ahead of you, Angie,
oh,
sorry.
not me? Okay, so no worries.
Aura first and then you.
Oh, Angie, sorry. I just wanted to piggyback on something Jen said. So I don't know if Mark and Lisa, if you guys have seen the two surveys. I think they're really helpful. That staff, like 22 staff people filled out, and then we had a parent one that we've done, which I think about 30 parents have filled out. But I just think the piece about, I mean, maybe this isn't an option. It sounds like superintendent just mentioned, and maybe Mark, you said more than that one classroom is not an option right now. Is that right? I mean, Angie can probably speak to this, but I thought there was possibility of another pre-K like right away happening in our school. So is that other classroom just not even a possibility?
Currently, with the funding that we have, it hasn't been accounted for. We've worked hard to try to squeeze as much program into the project as we could. I think the one area that and that's, again, this is outside of the project, but one of the areas that the original conceptual plan for BFOF looked at is actually there's sort of this missing tooth that's taken out of the building down in the lower classroom wing, and that may be one economical area in the future to be able to add on a classroom. But right now, the budget doesn't support adding an additional classroom.
So that would be a space in the future for that need, potentially.
Easily, that you could expand the building. Yeah. Okay.
And then just the other piece I wanted to add is just that both in the staff and parent survey that we've recently done, I feel like that community space, just to kind of add on to, I know you just were talking about looking at that gym, cafeteria, what the options might be. We had like 90% of people said, and most of them were very important. We gave that rubric of, the 1 to 5 of how important is having a community space. And it was 90%. So I really feel like how important is it for us to have a larger space for community events? So specifically that, I do feel like whatever we can get for information, I know you said that's going to be coming to look at that option. But I feel like that was pretty, and that was a small amount of our community, but I still felt like that was a pretty significant priority for the people who responded. So I just wanted to share that. And then just one other thing about learning spaces, Mark, I don't know if there's a cost to this or not, but both staff and parents both talked a lot about more small group workspace. So I don't know logistically and the physical form of classrooms, what that looks like. The educators would be the experts on that, but I saw that a lot, was having different types of learning spaces, different seating options, group work. We're an expeditionary learning school. So I just want to throw that out there too, that seemed to come up in both the staff and I don't know if Angie has anything to add to that, but I definitely saw that about different types of learning and different kinds of small group workspace. So just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Aura. I'm just going to go because I think I'm next. I believe I'm next. So Aura, so first off, I said this before, this is an incredibly hard job you have right now to sort of hear all the needs and create something that we're all going to be happy with. So thank you for always listening to us. To Aura's point, I do think that there's a lot of feedback out there, and I think these 45-minute opportunities are a little bit challenging. And so I do wonder if there's a larger space for that rather than in this sort of public space, which is, I think, extremely hard. So is there a way for us to meet with the architects and like seriously look at this blueprint and talk about, are there some options here? Because as even I'm looking at this, I would forego a stage to get a classroom. but keep the gym, right? But like, that's because or is right, there's a possibility of taking on a second pre-K this year. And I'm walking through my space trying to figure out how I can make that happen. And it's getting to the point, because it's 35 square feet per child in pre-K. So I'm like doing the math. I'm like, well, we can take 5 in this space. And that's not what we want to do here. So that's my question to you is there an opportunity outside of this 45 minutes to sort of sit down with some of us and talk about some options? We understand there's a price tag, and that we have a budget, but what's the best bang for our buck that will meet the needs for most of our community?
Yeah, I think I'll just address that. So we meet every other week with the school staff, and we're meeting tomorrow. And so Doug, Steve, and I will look very carefully at how do we provide an opportunity for a little more intense evaluation of it with you, Ange.
I really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you.
Elizabeth LaPierre.
Aura, in large part, addressed what my questions and concerns were. This is just kind of a very specific question relating to the plan. The line in the hallway between the old building and the addition, is that a door, a fire door?
It's not a fire door, and so we can look at whether there's any desire to create a pair of doors to seal off a portion of the building. But right now, it's there's continuity of the corridor from the front all the way to the back.
Okay, and what are those red dashed lines if you go up the hallway?
Sure.
In the new section, not the nest, but
okay.
You go further up.
Right here?
Right there. Yeah.
Those are simply, I think it was identified as a ceiling treatment in the model.
Okay. Okay. And just to kind of tack on to what Aura said as well, if we were going to close off the old building space and open up the new building space, like for a community event, say, I know that the main entrance is where essentially where it is now, with the doors that would be designated as, I think, probably exit only during the school day in the new section. Would those be able to accommodate, an after hours activity where the old building could be closed off potentially, and the in and out could be through those doors?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
You're absolutely, there could be a pair of doors here that allows this to be open, this area to be open and seal off the rest of this if you want to use that. So absolutely, it's a pretty cost-effective way of doing it. And even we're looking at whether these need to be cross-corridor doors or these could be sealed off in a similar fashion where you could lock down this area so that you're just coming in and accessing this public space.
Are you done, Elizabeth?
I just have one more quick question. I was trying to unmute myself and I just kept muting myself. The other question I have is whether or not if we were to add not the stage component but the gym component, would the public restrooms that are there now, are those sufficient to accommodate that space?
Not in and of themselves. If we did a occupant load calculation for that, and so the plumbing code looks at your total number of fixtures in the building, not simply just the fixtures that you have identified. And again, this is an issue where we could divert money from educational spaces and create more bathrooms, but we don't want to do that. So we'd like to be able to count all of the bathrooms in the building, so that we're not using money to build bathrooms, but we're using it to build learning spaces.
Okay, so all the bathrooms in the building, if that door didn't exist as it doesn't now, would be sufficient to accommodate that new gym space.
Yeah, we'll do a calculation just to confirm that with the plumbing code. But yeah, we believe with the addition of the toilets we're adding off of the lobby, that you have the multi-use toilet rooms here, that we have the additional toilet rooms here, that's enough to support an assembly function.
Thank you very much.
We have Mike, I believe.
Yes, it's me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
That's-
We can.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Back to the where the art room and the music room is. That's facing the south side. And if we 90 it and put it over to where the stage area is, then we make basically a rectangular shape. We can potentially add a third room all the way over to the left top corner, I believe, if you fill in the red dotted lines all the way up through. Yes, you could potentially, like I said, swing the art room and the music room around on that side, and then you would have space on either end, one end or the other, left or the right hand side, to make potentially another room. And basically you're adding what, one more exterior wall and 2 interior walls to the price. Is that about right?
Well, it doesn't, at this point in the calculation of space, we use simply a square foot. And so while there may be efficiencies of adding the square footage in a more regular shape, that it doesn't, it's not like we could just say, okay, well, we could just add in more if we make it a regular box. But so right now the arrangement of spaces is less of an impact on cost than simply the fact that we have that square footage. And so we can look at the efficiency and how it lays out on the site of taking these and moving them over here, definitely. And there may be some advantages in doing that. But the where efficiency comes in laying out spaces is the amount of circulation that you need to get to those spaces. And so it's the number of quarters that you need to add to get to those spaces and ensure that you have enough egress and access to rooms, as well as being able to segregate certain portions of the building too. And so the idea right now, we had in mind that people can come up, and for the specials of art and music, they don't have to go through the pre-kindergarten wing to get that. So instead of having all the students move through pre-kindergarten room to get there, but again, to your point, maybe there's a way of adding a quarter up here and then adding the rooms up here, and we can look at how efficient those rooms are laid out.
Okay, so it's not more cost efficient if we go straight lines and have less corners?
No, as I suggested, there may be efficiencies in construction, but the predominant cost is the fact that we have to have the steel to create the space. We have to have enclosure. We have to have the heating and electrical and plumbing systems in the building. So there definitely are some construction efficiencies, but right now the real strong driver is just the area, the space that we create.
All right.
So I have Angie, Elizabeth, and Angela with their hands still up. I'm assuming that I don't want to assume. Do you have any other questions?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't put my hand down. I apologize.
No problem.
We are at the 6:45. I don't want to shortchange this, but I also know that we've got another meeting lined up as well.
Great. So do you want to do anything on communications?
Yeah.
Right, what?
I think so. So I think we just take a very quick minute here. So what we want to celebrate is the launch of the Portland Public Schools BFOF website. And so where in the past it may have been difficult to find the minutes or information about when the meeting is or the latest floor plans, now we have a website that you can all access that information, frequently asked questions. It's all there. And so if you, let me go back to let's see here. I think I've got, there it is right there. So it's live right now. It's ppsbfofprojects.com. There'll be a link from the district webpage to get to it. And when you get here, you'll have I'll go back to the home page right now. It has 4 primary content areas: meetings and project schedules, meeting materials, project update sheets, floor plans and photos. And so if at any time you want to look back at the PowerPoint that was given, you can dig it up and it'll have all the PowerPoints for all the different committees. It'll have all the meeting minutes, all the meeting agendas will be all right here. And then if you want an update on the various projects. You can go through to the project update sheets. There's also floor plans and photos, and so you can find the latest and greatest floor plans where you can actually download them and be able to dial right into and see them, as well as updates on construction photos as the projects get underway. And so this is exciting. We're very excited that this has come together. The frequently asked questions are also posted here, and so there are general frequently asked questions as well as individualized by school. So you can go down to the Presumpscot school and find out, is it possible to build a new gym instead of a new cafeteria, as well as all the other ones that we've compiled from the various forums that we've had in meetings. And so Emily Waugh from Harriman did a tremendous job putting this together. A little shout out to her, and we hope you all find this extremely helpful. So
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
thank
So
you very
helpful.
much.
Thank you.